You know that moment when a single question changes your entire world? Not gradually, not over time, but instantly, like someone just ripped the foundation out from under your house while you're still standing in it. I asked my wife a simple question last Tuesday. 5 words. What's your relation with Alex? She froze. Not the kind of pause you get when someone's thinking of an answer. This was different. Her coffee mug hung suspended halfway to her lips, steam curling around her face like she'd become a statue. The morning light streaming through our kitchen window suddenly felt harsh, unforgiving. That freeze? It lasted maybe 3 seconds. But those 3 seconds rewrote our entire marriage. If stories like this grip you the way they grip me, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for where this goes. Sarah and I had been married for 8 years. Not the kind of marriage you see in movies. We weren't high school sweethearts or anything romantic like that. We met at a conference in Denver, both of us grinding through corporate presentations about quarterly projections. It's like laughed at my terrible joke about spreadsheets, and somehow that became coffee, then dinner, then a life together. We were solid, or so I believed. The kind of couple that friends would point to and say, "See? That's how it's done." We had our routines, our inside jokes, our shared dreams of renovating the old Victorian we bought on Maple Street. Alex entered our orbit about 6 months ago. Sarah's new colleague at the marketing firm where she'd recently been promoted to creative director. She'd mention him occasionally. Alex suggested this campaign idea, or Alex brought bagels for the team. Normal workplace stuff. I even met him at their company holiday party. Tall guy, probably 6'2", with one of those effortless smiles that made you want to like him immediately. He had this way of listening when you talked, like your words were the most important thing he'd heard all day. We talked for maybe 20 minutes about baseball and hiking trails. Seemed like a decent guy, but something had shifted in Sarah recently. Nothing dramatic, just small things that lived in the spaces between our conversations. She'd started taking her phone calls in the other room. Her laugh sounded different when she came home from work, lighter somehow, like she was carrying some secret joy. She'd begun suggesting we try new restaurants, new weekend plans, as if our old routines suddenly felt stale to her. I told myself I was imagining things. Marriage has seasons, right? Sometimes you're close, sometimes you need space to grow. We were just in one of those phases. Last Monday night, Sarah's phone buzzed during dinner. She glanced at it, and for just a moment her whole face lit up. Not the polite smile she gave me when I told her about my day, but something genuine and electric. "Work stuff," she said, flipping the phone face down next to her plate of barely touched pasta. But I'd seen the name on the screen. Alex. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling while she slept beside me. The house felt different somehow, like the walls were holding secrets. Every small sound, the refrigerator humming, the old floorboards settling, seemed amplified in the darkness. Tuesday morning arrived gray and ordinary. Sarah was making coffee in her favorite mug, the one with the chipped handle that she refused to throw away. She was wearing that blue sweater I'd bought her last Christmas, the one that made her eyes look like summer storms. The question came out of nowhere. I hadn't planned it, hadn't rehearsed it. It just emerged from some deep place of knowing that I couldn't ignore anymore. "What's your relation with Alex?" The freeze. God, that freeze. Time became elastic, stretching those few seconds into an eternity. I watched her face cycle through emotions like someone flipping through television channels: surprise, fear, calculation, resignation. When she finally set down the mug, her hand was trembling. "We need to talk," she whispered. Those 4 words hit me harder than any confession could have. Because in that moment, I knew. Not the details, not the timeline, but the truth underneath it all. The woman I'd shared a bed with for 8 years, the person I trusted more than anyone in the world, had been living a parallel life I knew nothing about. Sarah sat down across from me at our kitchen table, the same table where we'd planned vacations and paid bills and argued about whose turn it was to call the plumber. Her hands were folded in front of her like she was praying, but her eyes were looking everywhere except at me. "It started as friendship," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "Alex was going through a divorce, and I was. I don't know. I felt like we were just going through the motions, you and me. Like roommates who happened to share a last name. Each word landed like a physical blow. I wanted to interrupt, to defend us, to list all the ways we weren't just roommates. But something in her voice told me she needed to get this out, and I needed to hear it. We'd have lunch sometimes. Talk about work, about life. He made me feel, she paused, searching for the right words. Seen. Like I mattered beyond just keeping our house running and showing up to your work events. How long? I managed to ask. 3 months, she said. Since September. September. While I was planning our anniversary dinner for October, she was falling for someone else. While I was picking out that blue sweater for Christmas, she was building a secret world I wasn't part of. Did you? I couldn't finish the question. She nodded, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. Last weekend, when I said I was at that marketing conference in Portland. There was no conference. There never had been. She'd spent 2 days with Alex at some bed and breakfast on the coast, living a fantasy while I watched Netflix alone and missed her. The strangest part wasn't the anger, though that came later, hot and fierce and consuming. The strangest part was the relief. After months of feeling like something was off, of questioning my own instincts, finally knowing the truth felt like setting down a weight I hadn't realized I was carrying. What do you want? I asked her. Not accusingly, not desperately. Just tired. Tired of pretending, tired of not knowing, tired of living in the space between what I thought we had and what we actually had. Sarah looked at me then, really looked at me for the first time in months. I don't know, she said. I know that's not fair to you. I know you deserve better than that. But I honestly don't know. We sat in silence for a long time. The coffee grew cold. The morning light shifted across the kitchen floor, highlighting dust motes that danced between us like tiny, chaotic worlds. I think, I finally said, you need to figure that out somewhere else. She nodded, understanding. No dramatic arguments, no thrown dishes or slammed doors. Just two people acknowledging that the life they'd built together had become uninhabitable for both of them. Sarah packed a bag that afternoon. Not everything. We'd figure out the logistics later. Just enough clothes for a week, her laptop, that chipped coffee mug. She was staying with her sister downtown while she sorted things out. At the door, she turned back. I'm sorry, she said. Not just about Alex. About letting us drift so far apart that I thought this was the answer. I'm sorry too, I told her. And I meant it. Sorry for not noticing sooner. Sorry for not fighting harder for us before there was someone else to fight against. Sorry for all the ways we'd stopped seeing each other long before Alex came into the picture. That was 2 weeks ago. The house feels different now, not empty exactly, but spacious in a way it hasn't been in months. I've been sleeping better, which surprises me. I thought I'd be devastated, destroyed, all those things they tell you betrayal does to a person. Instead, I feel oddly grateful. Grateful for that moment of freezing, for the way her face revealed everything she couldn't say. Grateful that the question finally got asked, even though I hadn't planned to ask it. Sometimes the worst thing that can happen to you is also the most honest thing. Sometimes betrayal isn't just about someone choosing someone else. It's about two people who lost each other long before a third person entered the story. I don't know what happens next. Sarah and I are talking about counseling, about whether there's something worth rebuilding or if we're better off helping each other build separate lives. Alex, surprisingly, ended things with her when he learned she was married. Turns out he thought she was already divorced. But here's what I do know. That 3-second freeze saved us both from years of living a lie. Sometimes the question that shatters your world is exactly the question you needed to ask. What questions are you afraid to ask in your own life? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story moved you, consider subscribing, because the most powerful stories are the ones that help us face our own truths.